Hey, Pastor Josh here. Thanks so much for watching our videos. If you'd like more information about Legacy City Church, you can go to legacycitychurch.com. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell below. God bless you. We are in Ecclesiastes chapter 2 in our Bibles. Ecclesiastes chapter 2. Ecclesiastes. And if you're wondering what this book is about, it is actually a book written by King Solomon. King Solomon is the wisest guy to ever walk the earth. He was unbelievably wealthy. He had great power, and his fame spread throughout the land. Kings and queens would travel from all over the world to come and visit him and to hear of his wisdom. And here in chapter 2, we're going to see that he has some great wisdom for us today. That he's going to bestow upon us and share with us really by the Spirit of God. The reason I want to look at this together is because as we really ascend on a new year, as we ascend on a new decade, we have the opportunity to hit the reset button. We have the opportunity to recalibrate, to prioritize things in life that we want to. And it feels like a refreshing time. I really don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the fact that 2020 is like a big number in our minds, just the fact that it says 2020. We like the way that it lines up. We like the way that it looks. We like the way that it feels. But you'll see that a lot of tech companies will be releasing some of their latest stuff this year in particular, especially regarding cars. And the reason for that is, again, they think it's a great marketing year. That 2020 seems to be something that rings true in people's minds, that we're on a new frontier, we're on new adventure, there's new opportunities, everybody's in new mode. And so they're going to be releasing it now instead of 2019 or instead of 2021. But I went back and looked on CNN Business did an article, and I went back and looked at this article that they did on experts predicting the future and how well they did in the last 50 years. So what this group of people did, they're called the Rand Corporation, they put together 82 questions. And they put these 82 questions to experts and said, please predict to us what is going to happen in the future and give us the years and dates that you think that they're going to happen. So this happened in 1964, the predictions were made. Did you get that? 1964, the predictions were made, and here were the predictions of what they think will happen in these years. They thought and predicted in 1980 that we would have robots as household servants. In 1980. We got the robot vacuum cleaner, that kind of like goes around and cleans up dust. They also thought in 1980 that we would have landed on Mars. Already. Elon Musk, sorry man, 1980, they thought it was going to happen. 1995, they thought human lives would artificially be extended by 50 years. That basically we could prolong our lives by 50 years in 95. They also thought in 95 that we would have an automated voting system, that we would be able to vote from our computers at home by then. And we're still ancient. We mark a little line, right? Little line. It's going to happen this year. You're going to go into the booth and you draw a line. We go right back to the ancient days. In 98, they predicted that we would be able to record information into the brain through some type of technology, like the Matrix, like we would be able to download information. 98. In 99, they said we would have a military force on the moon. These are experts. In 2000, they said we would be communicating with aliens, extraterrestrials. In 2015, they thought that through long duration of coma, we could time travel. Again, this is people in 1964 predicting what will happen in 2015. We're not even close. And in 2020, you know what they thought was going to happen? Breeding of apes and other animals for menial work. So they said we were going to breed animals to do the work for us. An ape bagging groceries right there in the store. Sweeping the floor at home. I don't know. They thought this would be true. Why do I bring that up? It's because we project all of these wild things into the future. All of these things that we think are going to happen. And many times they don't. Most of the time they don't. Doesn't life have a way of changing direction? You're like, wow, I'm here now. I never thought in a million years I would be right here. It's important for us to look back on history and learn from it and project into the future. But many times when we're projecting, everybody's got goals, everybody's got different things they want to accomplish this year and do. But family, what happens if we get these exterior things right, but we get the very foundational things wrong? Life ends up going sideways in directions that we wish would have never happened. Trends will change, right? Locations will change. Seasons will change. Relationships will change. Careers will change. But there are a few things in our lives that should never change. And that we should remain the same. That we should stay steady in. And that's what I want to talk about today. We need to keep the main things the main thing. The title of the message today. The new year is a perfect time for us to make the main thing the main thing. Let me ask you this. What has God really called us to at the end of all of this? What's the point? What is the point of all of this? What is He calling us to? What is the main thing in this whole universe? I watched a Netflix documentary just this last week on 1 year in space. Did you see that one? A guy by the name of Scott Kelly spent a year in space. And no joke, he's up there with a microphone like this, and he's like, hey, how's it going? And he's talking by video to the world. He's standing up there in the space station. He is tweeting from space, yes, interacting with people. And after spending a whole year in space, he said that the whole point of all of this is just to keep the human race continuing on. I was thinking to myself, the whole point of entering into space and living there for a year is so that we can get the human race to continue on. I thought to myself, continue on for what reason? Just to exist? So generation after generation can hurt each other? Our history is very consistent. We keep hurting and hating each other generation after generation after generation. Here we are, 21st century, we're still doing it in Los Angeles. Even though everyone is chanting that we should love one another, it's not happening still. The statistics for hatred and racism have gone up in the last year. Is that crazy or what? How is that even possible when we have everyone chanting in the opposite direction? It's because we're missing the main thing. What is our purpose? Is our purpose just to survive? To survive? Just to survive? To survive? And to keep surviving? For what reason? Why would we keep on surviving if we're just promising the next generation hurt, pain, and difficulty? What is the point? What's the purpose? Are humans the center of the universe, or is God the center of the universe? If He is the main thing, watch this, who has made us and made us this playground of the earth to enjoy, and just maybe He has made us to have relationships with people. And if He has made us to have relationships with people, notice, just remove everything. Remove jobs, remove money, remove careers, remove success, remove status, remove all of these things, and just remove everything and just look at what's around you. What is it built on? It's just a bunch of people talking to each other. That's all it is. Just relationships everywhere. And if God has made a playground for us to enjoy and to play on, and built us to be in relationship with one another, watch this, could it be that He has built us and designed us to have the deepest relationship with Him? But here we are disconnected from the one who made relationships. And that's what I want to challenge you with today. That's what I want you to look closely at. I want to propose this. If you're, very simple, very easy. I should say very simple, not easy. I want to propose this, that if your relationship with God deepens, the one who has made relationships, the one who is love, if your relationship with him deepens, your relationship with other people will also deepen and be better. As you experience the love and the relationship with God, watch this, your love for people will grow. Your grace for people will grow. Your patience for people will grow. And your own peace will grow. What is the pursuit of life? What is the pursuit of happiness? Happiness is there for a moment, then it's gone, huh? Chick-fil-A can make me happy, okay? Zanku is pretty good too, so it is. But man, spicy chicken deluxe, sriracha sauce, or In-N-Out, it can do it as well. I mean, double, no onions, animal-style fries, Neapolitan shake, okay? I'm happy for a moment, and then right afterwards, what happens? Not happy. Wish I would have never done that. But notice how our feelings fluctuate and how happiness can be brought to us in an instant and then taken away from us. Happiness is not sustainable. We promote the pursuit of happiness here in America, do we not? And if you walked up to somebody on Rodeo Drive, I want to do this interview, I think we might do it sometime because I think it would be fascinating. You walk up to people and say, hey, what is your pursuit of happiness? And they say, well, when I do this, I'm going to be happy. Right? You say, wow, okay. The next thing you do is you bring a stranger up walking by and you say, excuse me, sir, come over here. This guy just said that when this, and this happens in life, he's going to be happy. What do you think? You think he's going to be happy? Like, no, he's not going to be happy then. Why not? Because look at all these people who have done these things and they're still not happy. I say, sir, but what do you want to pursue and what will make you happy if you get this thing? And we ask him and he says this, and this. Then I turn back to the other guy and say, is he going to be happy when he gets this stuff? What's he going to say? No. It's interesting that when you set a goal, you get that goal, you experience happiness, and then it's gone. What's going on here? Why are we not content? Family, maybe it's because we're not built to pursue these things first and foremost. Is it wrong to pursue them? No. But it cannot be the main thing. We should learn from LA. We know we live here. It makes you sick. Jesus said this. He sums up the whole Bible for us. He said in Matthew 20:37, Jesus replied, he said, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Then he said, second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commands. He said, listen, you want to know what the whole Bible says? Just love God, deepen your relationship with him, be in relationship with God. How do I do that? The same way you're in relationship with other people. We're going to talk about that. And as you build a relationship with him and are impacted by him, that love will pour onto the relationships around you. And people will see God in you. And it will start to unify the people around us. This is where peace is found. Then we pursue our work. Then we pursue our marriage. Then we pursue our friendships. Then we pursue our hobbies. Then we pursue these things. But we have to get the main thing, the main thing. I want to start out our scripture today by looking at a man who literally pursued everything LA wants, and he found it. He got it all. He said, I want it all, and he got it all. Everything. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, we're going to read a large portion of scripture. I'll pull a few things from it. Can we stand for the reading of God's word? I want you to hear this. I think you'll be shocked to read it for yourself. How aware Solomon was, and this is thousands of years ago. He's writing this. If you don't know who Solomon is, he was King David's son. Yes, that King David who slayed the Goliath. The giant. He was the greatest king of Israel, and Solomon, his son, took over. And this is what happened with Solomon. It gives you a bit of context as we read. Solomon said, Lord, please give me wisdom that I would lead your people. I don't know what to do. The Lord said this, because you didn't ask for riches, because you didn't ask for fame, because you didn't ask for power and success, I'm going to give all that to you as well in the wisdom. Solomon's wisdom was above any other wisdom that any man has ever had on the earth. And his wisdom gave him the power to accumulate and build and do amazing things. He writes in chapter 2, he kind of vents. He's like venting to us. Set up the camera and just watch this dude vent to you about everything that he has pursued. Are you ready? Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1. He said, I said in my heart, come now. He says to himself, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy yourself. Behold, this also was vanity. He said, I said of laughter, it is mad. And of pleasure, what use is it? I searched my heart how to cheer my body with wine. My heart still guided me with wisdom, and how to lay hold of folly, till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. He says this, I made great works. I built houses. I planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks, and I planted them in all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves, and had slaves who were born in my house. I had also great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in all of Jerusalem. He says, I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delight of the sons of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also, my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil that expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity and striving after the wind. There was nothing to be gained under the sun. Jump down to verse 18. He says, I hated all my toil, which I toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool, yet he will be a master of all for which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is vanity, so I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun, because sometimes a person who has toil with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed by someone else who did not toil for it. This also is vanity and a great evil. What has man from all the toils and striving of heart with which he toils beneath the sun? For all his days are full of sorrow, and his work is a vexation. Even in the night, his heart does not rest. This is also vanity. Look at 24. There is nothing better for a person than he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. For also I saw is all from the hand of God. For apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? For to the one who pleases him, God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner he has given the business of gathering and collecting, only to give to one who pleases God. This also is vanity and striving after the wind. Let's pray. Lord, we ask that you would reveal in this venting. Oh God, would you reveal in all of this rant? Application for our life. Vision for 2020. Clarity in the midst of our life and situation. Open our eyes, Father. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. You can be seated. Ecclesiastes represents the painful autobiography of Solomon, who for much of his life squandered God's blessings on his own personal pleasure rather than God's glory. He wrote to warn subsequent generations not to make the same tragic error as he did. Solomon is warning us. He's like, please, guys, please, I'm telling you, I have conquered all this stuff, and I'm trying to let you know you're going to give up your life for a bunch of stuff, and then when it doesn't pay out, your investment, you're going to be bummed. Sadly, generation after generation make the same error. Solomon points out that he pursued pleasure, laughter. He had the best wine cellars. He pursued building palaces, vineyards, forests of trees. Who builds a forest of trees? Like, I'm just going to build an entire forest. Wow. He built pools and lakes to water these forests. His house was full of servants to take care of everything for him. He didn't lift a finger. He multiplied in flocks and animals. He multiplied in gold and silver and acquired treasures of kings. The queen of Sheba came to him just to listen to his wisdom, and she came with great gifts. People were just offering him more and more and more money, more treasures. I did the calculation for the gold a little while back. He had in the billions of dollars just in gold. It's not even comparing to the animals and palaces and all of the things that he had acquired. He had entertainers to live in his home to sing and dance for him. It's perfect, LA, huh? Singers and dancers, entertainers just living in his house to entertain him when he wanted it. The best of the best. He also multiplied in 300 wives. Not 299, 300. What? And 700 girlfriends. It says 700 concubines. They got to live in the palace and enjoy the luxury of the king, all the spas and the baths and the oils and the lotions and the wealth. But they had to be one of his 700 girlfriends. This is Solomon. Modern day Hugh Hefner, far above, that's for sure. But he says this in verse 11, very interesting. He says, "Then I considered all that my hands had done, all the work that I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity and striving after the wind. There was nothing to be gained under the sun." Notice, it wasn't worth anything once he acquired it. And we do this. Once you get what you want, give it a year or two, and it's just junk. It's so funny how this happens. We're like, oh Lord, I want to get that, or I want to get to that point, or I want to do that thing, and then you get it, and it grows old, doesn't it? Everything grows old. And what do we do after we get what we want? We want more. Remember J.D. Rockefeller? Yeah, Rockefeller. Most wealthy man to ever walk the earth. When asked how much money is enough, he said this: $1 more. How much is enough? Just $1 more. Just $1 more. OLA learned from Solomon 1,000 years ago. Again, it's not sinful to pursue these things. It's not sinful at all. It's sinful when we make them our God. It's sinful when we make them number one. It's sinful when we make it the main thing. And I'm telling you this, look into the eyes of the old person. Please, go sit down with your grandma. Go sit down with your grandpa. Go sit down with somebody old in this city. And just listen to them talk and see their regrets and see their real successes and see what they really treasure and value in life. And see what they would have wished they would have spent more time doing. Many times we burn up everything on things that we don't exactly ultimately end up wanting. Steve Jobs did not know that he was going to die of this cancer. Now, did he? He thought he was going to live forever. He burnt up his entire life on technology. And then once he gets to the level where he can literally buy anything, look at him. He doesn't buy anything. He wants an empty house. He wants to wear the same pants and the same shirt every single day. Cotton is cotton. Doesn't matter how it's woven. Shoes are shoes. They only get so comfortable. Cars only get so fast, and they only get so nice seats. The accommodations only get to a certain level, and then it's over. Solomon's trying to tell us this. That's not the most important thing in life, so don't make it the most important thing. He says this, verse 18, he says, "I hated all my work in which I worked under the sun. Because," he says, "seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be wise or a fool." Can we say trust fund babies? Is that okay? Bad joke, bad joke. Someone works their entire life to build an empire, and then they literally hand it to somebody else. They don't even enjoy their own toil. And Solomon says it wisely, who knows if they will be wise or a fool? You don't know until they get the money in their hands. Somebody gets 10 million slid across the table, they become a different person, huh? Crazy how that happens. Who knows if they will be wise or a fool? You work your whole life to accumulate and then hand it off to somebody else. People build a life of wealth, pleasure for themselves, and never get to fully experience it. But really, what is the experience on its own? It's really not fun unless we have value in it and depth. What do you mean? Watch this. If you remove relationship from any experience or any amount of money or any type of pursuit, remove the relationship of people around it, you have a person all alone with a bunch of stuff. You have a person all alone doing things on their own, nobody to tell about it. No one cares for them. No one knows them. Notice the value is in relationship, not in the pursuit of the things around it. This is very important. What are we longing for? Are we longing for money, power, fame, experiences? They are nothing on their own. They only become valuable when they are enjoyed with the people you love. They are only useful when you see their purpose through the eyes of God. It wasn't bad that Solomon was able to accumulate and experience all these things. It was bad that he used it for his own gain and pleasure and not for the gift of the people around him. God gave him wisdom. Why? For himself? No. He gave him the wisdom to accumulate so that he could lead God's people. And he used it for his own gain. You remember how great Solomon's wisdom was? Do you remember the two women who came to him with a baby? Two moms fighting over this baby. She says, "That's my baby." And the other one says, "No, that's my baby." And Solomon's like, "Whose baby is it? Where's the birth certificate?" No, what does he do? He says, "Bring me a sword." He says, "We're going to cut the baby in half and we'll give half to each of you." And one woman cries out and says, "No, no, don't do that." He says, "That's the mother. Give her the child." He knew the mother would cry out for her child. His great wisdom helped him to make decisions. That is the way he was supposed to be leading the kingdom. But he went away. He went astray. And family, Legacy, Studio City, listen. I believe that you guys really want to walk with the Lord. I believe that you actually want to have deep relationship with Him. I want the same for my life. We live in a city in a context that distracts us from the main thing non-stop, over and over and over. And this is why we must set priorities in our lives. To align ourselves with God on a daily basis and prioritize Him before the pursuit takes over. Because it will. In any city in the world, if there's any city in which a pursuit will absolutely take over, it is here. You will look back on life and say, what in the world did I just do for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years? What am I doing? All you have to do is look at the Solomons of this day. You know what Hugh Hefner said at the end of his life? Playboy Mansion. This guy seemed like he had it all. You know what he said? He said he was sad because he knew that none of these girls would ever truly love him. They only wanted his money. They only wanted his power. No one would really ever love the guy because of the way he built his life. Isn't that sad? Bill Gates is in a very interesting situation right now. I watched a documentary about him just a little while back. $80 billion. He literally can buy any shoes he wants. He can buy any car he wants, any vehicle, spacecraft, whatever he wants, he can purchase. He can have any meal he wants. He can hire anyone he wants. He can build any company he wants. He can do any experience on a planet that he wants. He can literally do anything that he wants. And what happens? He realizes that he's at a point. He's worked his whole life to get to this point, and he now has to give all the funds away with purpose. Purpose, intention. Or it's just going to be passed on to some other person who's going to burn up all of his toil. He is faced with this very thing. You notice, he doesn't want a nicer pair of pants. He doesn't want a nicer car. He doesn't want any of it. That tells us something. He's done. He reached the level, and it's not happiness there. He says, I've got to take care of people in the world. I think this has been entrusted to me for that reason. Money, power, and fame cannot buy happiness. It must be found somewhere else. It is only found in the one who has made happiness. He built it. He knows how it works. And Jesus simplified it for us. I know this thing seems very complex sometimes. He said it's very simple. Just love the God who made you, build a relationship with him, and let that relationship impact you so much that it causes you to love the person next to you, your neighbor. Verse 24, Solomon says, there's nothing better for a person than he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw, he says, is from the hand of God. For apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? Apart from him, who can have enjoyment? How can you say something so weighty as that? You have all the enjoyment the world says is enjoyable. You have it. And you said, how can anyone enjoy any of this except to be with God? Solomon says, enjoy the work of your hands. Enjoy your labor. It's okay to buy stuff. It's okay to do experiences. It's okay to build success. It is fully okay. Here it is. Here's the kicker. But you must do so understanding where it came from. And what is its ultimate purpose? You got to get this. Why has God blessed you? Why do you have what you have? Why do you have the gifts, talents, and abilities? Why do you have the opportunities? Why is the Lord allowing all this to come together? You got to understand where it came from and what its purpose is. You got to figure this out. It'll drive you mad. You will get sick in this city if you don't establish these things. What anchors you in figuring out where it came from is loving your God, going back to him on a daily basis. You know where it came from. Thank you, Father. And you know its purpose. It is to love and serve and to bless the people around you. For without doing so, there's no value. Can we turn to Revelation chapter 2 in our Bibles? I'm going to turn here. I just want to read 3 verses, and I want to turn one other place and read 2 verses. The book of Revelation is at the end of the Bible. Go ahead and start turning that direction just to your right, and you'll hit it, I promise. Revelation chapter 2. Jesus speaks to 7 churches on the earth, and he says very specific things to them. This church in Ephesus, he gives a very specific word that I think is timely for us, Legacy. Here it is, Revelation chapter 2, verse 3. Take a look. He says, Jesus, the Lord Jesus says to Ephesus, the church, I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. Good job. You're doing good. But I have one thing against you, that you have abandoned the love you had at first. Verse 5, remember therefore where you have fallen, repent and do the works you did first. Jesus says there's one thing, church. You guys are great in truth. You're established in doctrine. You're enduring like you should, but there's one thing. You have abandoned your first love. You have abandoned the love that you had at first. The only comparisons I can think of are when you were, number one, first saved. You know, you first come into a relationship with God, you're like, oh my gosh, I know God. God lives in me. I am forgiven. Did you know I'm forgiven? All the weight and the burdens I've been carrying my whole life, man, they are forgiven. God has set me free. You're on fire, huh? That relationship was alive. It was passion. The other comparison I think is helpful is when you first fell in love with the love of your life. You were on fire for them, huh? You touch hands, you had electricity. You're just sitting there, you're like, okay, who's going to, oh, wow. You're just touching hands. You're passionate, huh? You're so excited about them. You talk to them on the phone all the time. You can't wait to see what you guys are going to do this week or after work. You're always thinking about them. You're texting and calling all the time. You're fired up. The first love. And Jesus says you've abandoned the love that you had at first. You've abandoned it. You've let go of it. You don't invest in it like you once did. You've got the mechanics right. The mechanics are there. You're walking with God, but the fire is not there anymore. Where has it gone? Where has our love for God gone? This is a relationship. Family, if I told you to go build a relationship with that person over there, you know what you would start doing? You would start talking to them. You would start walking with them through life. Go build a relationship with them. You would do life with them. You would start hanging out with them. You would have conversation with them. And I'm telling you, we got to walk and talk with God through life. We need to start this relationship back up again. It's very simple. Why in the world would we overcomplicate it? The only way you know how to do relationship is the way you do relationship with the people around you. Why wouldn't you do that with God? Why does it have to be so complex and overly religious? We make it so religious that it's not even a relationship anymore. Rituals and what if the God who built relationships just wants us to have relationship with Him? Micah chapter 6, verse 8, He has shown you, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of you. It's very simple. Just do justly, do what is right. Love mercy, love God's love, and pour that on other people. And walk humbly with your God. Family, how did Jesus love His Father? How did Jesus love His Father, God the Father in heaven? Very simply, in a deep relationship with Him. He was talking and walking with His Father, listening to His Father's commands. How do you do this with your spouse? It's very simple. Not easy, but simple. You were honestly just walking and talking with them through life and what? Obeying their commands. That was a joke, come on. Lighten up. Come on, let's break it down. Like really, you're just walking and talking with them through life, building relationship, friendship with your spouse. And you're literally obeying the instruction and things that they need or want from you. It is submitting one to another. Both parties are sacrificing and laying down to accommodate the other. That's called obeying, but we don't like that word. It's a negative word, huh? It's like, oh, I don't obey. Yeah, you do. We submit one to another. How does it look with God? We're just submitting, obeying, walking with Him, walking and talking with Him through life. What is the opposite of obedience? Rebellion. If you rebel against the person, you're breaking off the relationship. And so too, it is true with God. When we say, I don't want to walk with you. I don't want that. You start going your own way. Jesus did this with His Father. Family, Matthew 22:37, you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all your soul, all of your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Do not abandon your love for God. Remember where it once was. Repent back to that place and return to Him now. We're going to have an opportunity to do that today as we enter the communion table. One last text, Galatians chapter 9. Would you turn there with me? Galatians chapter 9. It's in the epistles. You can start turning to your left if you're in the book of Revelation. Galatians chapter 6. We're going to look at verse 9. This may be a life verse for some of you. It's very encouraging. It's very helpful. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. One of the greatest sounds a preacher ever hears is the pages of Scripture turning. It's the best. Galatians 6:9, it says this. The Apostle Paul writes to the church of Galatia, says this. Let us not grow weary of doing good. Please. Don't grow weary of doing good. Please. Do not grow weary of doing good, for in due season you will reap if we do not give up. You will reap. Keep doing good. Verse 10. Take a look at verse 10 with that context in mind. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, especially to those who are in the household of faith. Do not grow weary of doing good to everyone. LA. Please, do good to everyone. That guy? Yeah. That girl? Yeah. Don't grow weary in doing good to people. LA will make you weary really fast in doing good to people, huh? Because you do good a couple times to people, you try to help people, they take advantage of you. They work you over, they work an angle. Your best friend one day and then they're gone the next day. It's really weird. It's an awkward place, I know. But we would be told, don't grow weary in doing good. Don't do it. Do not grow weary. You will reap. A harvest is coming for you if you continue to do good to everyone, especially those in the house of faith, especially those in the church of God. Let's break this down. As we have opportunity. So then, as we have opportunity. I think sometimes when we think about evangelism or we think about sharing our faith with people, we're really scared to do so, huh? We're like, you want me to go do what? Walk up to somebody and say, hey, let me tell you about Jesus. They're like, bye. I used to do this a lot. And sometimes it worked great and other times it was very awkward. But notice the text says, do not grow weary in doing good. And so then as we have the opportunity, do good to everyone. You know when God is asking you to show up? When you have the opportunity. That's it. This is what is required of you. When the opportunity arises, would you please step up to the plate and just be good to someone else the way God has been good to you? It's very simple. Just love your neighbor. Love God, love your neighbor. Just do good to everyone around you. It's very simple. When the opportunity arises. Family, is God going to bring opportunities for you this year in 2020 to be good to people? Oh yeah. There's going to be lots of opportunities, huh? Even right after the service, when you leave the parking lot, that person coming down the street, you have opportunities to do good to everyone. We have opportunity. The question is, are we going to use it? And it says to do good to everyone. That word in the Greek is a very special one. It means everyone. That's it. It's very simple. Yes, to everyone, especially those who are in the household of faith, the people of God. John 13:34, Jesus said, love one another as I have loved you. You got to love one another, church. By this, all people are going to know you are my disciples by the way that you love each other. We need the world to be able to see the love that's going on in this place and amongst the community of God and say, that is what community looks like. That's what love looks like. That's what peace looks like. Again, the closer you are in relationship with God, the easier it will be to love your neighbors, and the more naturally you will love them when you hang out with the one who is love. The mission, very simple. Are you ready? 2020, can we make the main thing the main thing? You know who that is? God. Love God. How do I do that? You just build a relationship with Him. You walk and talk with Him through life. You learn about Him. You grow in a relationship with Him. As you do so, your life will be permeated with the relationship with him, and it will pour over very naturally into the people around you, your neighbors, and you will automatically be filling the second greatest commandment, loving your neighbor. And I'm just proposing, if we possibly loved our neighbor in the way that we love ourselves, do you think there would be a little bit of change here in LA? Because when you love someone that way, they may see that love in you and then ask you where it came from. And you get to do what? Point them back to the God who gave it to you. That is the entire point of life. If you get all the exterior things right, money, success, fame, stuff here in LA, but you get the middle thing wrong, the main thing wrong, all this stuff is poisoned. It gets messed up. You get the main thing right, and then you work on the exterior, and you will do just fine. You'll have peace because you're anchored in him. And you're loving your neighbor, and there's peace around you. You do the opposite, it causes chaos. People just want peace. Everybody knows we're going to go through crazy stuff in the next 10 years. Why? Because people went through crazy stuff the last 10 years. And what we need above all is peace, and that peace is found in our God who anchors us through all of these storms of life. We're going to anchor in the cross and remember his great love for us. I hope that it would begin right here. Step one would begin right here today as we go to the communion table. Let's reflect on God's love for us. Let it fill our hearts and go out of this place loving our neighbor. Very simply. And it could be that as you love your neighbor this week, you may have the opportunity to point them back to the God who made them. Amen? That's the mission. That's the main thing.